What is going on, guys? Appreciate anyone watching here. Super excited to launch my YouTube platform. Obviously, I've been growing my Twitter for about a month now. Decided to create a YouTube channel as well so I could do some more in-depth analysis on Bitcoins, meme coins, crypto as a whole. The first topic we'll be covering is something I think is super exciting, and that's the Bitcoin halving cycle, right? So the current day, it's May 8th. We had the fourth halving 2-3 weeks ago. So tons of talk about that, right? And tons of correlation to each cycle. I think this is super interesting information if you do high-term time frame Bitcoin analysis. I know a lot of people, right? A lot of my followers are meme coin guys and crypto, and I know to them Bitcoin analysis is super boring, especially the high-term time frame stuff. This is kind of my area, my expertise that I've been in for a long time before I was in the meme coin world, but it's also very important, right? So if you want target goals for your top meme coins, you need to be studying things like Bitcoin and Doge and higher cap market coins that are correlated to those meme coin assets. So yeah, again, I appreciate everyone tuning in. I also got to give a lot of credit for this video to Max from Because Bitcoin. I've watched a lot of his videos in the last couple weeks and kind of inspired me to do my own analysis on the Bitcoin halvings and how the market cycles work in accordance with those. And so my analysis is a little bit different, same with my price targets, but I was inspired by him to look into Bitcoin halving mechanics and how it affects crypto market as a whole. So shout out to Max, check out his videos. I'll link his YouTube channel in the description below. So first thing too I want to talk about is high-term time frame analysis on any asset it's very speculative, right? Anything in cryptocurrency is speculative. What you're doing basically is you're taking previous data and you're trying to find an outcome based on how the data developed in the past. And so nothing, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes, right? So it's never going to be exact one-to-one, or rarely will be one-to-one, but it'll rhyme, right? It'll have similar mechanics. It'll give you general areas for price targets and price movement and range of time. So that's what we're going to be going over today. And also I want to note, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Make sure you guys just use this video as reference for your own trading and not financial advice, right? Do your own research. So first thing we're going to get into is the first halving, right? So these lines right here represent the time period when each halving occurred, right? So first halving was November 28th of 2012, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in, right, to the price action that occurred right after the halving happened, which is about what we're at right now, right? So what we can see here, halving occurs, right? Obviously this isn't a perfect range by any means, right? We get a little stop out right after the halving, and we get a little move up, but ultimately I would say this area right here in this blue box, this is ranging, right? We get a decent move up here, but this is mainly a range, right? It's not super volatile, especially back in 2012. Bitcoin was moving like 100% in a day, kind of like these meme coins. So this right here is this chop, right? So we see this range form over the course of 45 days. As soon as it breaks the top of this range right here, 45 days later, what do we see? An exponential move up, right? So again, you guys can kind of see the difference between this price action and this, right? So break out of that initial range from the halving, right? Speculation, breaks out of it, back tested even, and then just massive exponential move up. Okay, so I'll mark that next box in green. This represents the bull market. Okay, so we have the chop, we have the bull market. We put in the high after an 8,800% move over the course of 330 days. Okay, so in December, we put in that high of that 2013, 2012 bull market, right? What happens next? Obviously, after every bull cycle, you get a bear market, right? Put in that high, we get an 86% decrease over the course of 621 days. And then we put in the bottom, right, 621 days later. And then what happens? We get price discovery, okay? So at this point, okay, anything beyond this red box is the start of the next bull run. But I call this I call it price discovery because at this point, even though we're in a bull market, in hindsight, a lot of people are still speculating, right? Like up to this point, you could say, oh, well, if we take at this moment in time, right? You could have said, oh, a lot of bears would say, oh, well, this is just like a healthy retracement up to further lows, right? Even all the way up to this point. Once we break all-time highs and we're confirmed above all-time highs, not a breach, but a breakout, that for me is like a real confirmation of a crypto bull run, right? So this is price speculation. Yes, we've started the bull run, but it's not confirmed yet, right? It's speculation up until the Bitcoin halving. It's still a nice little move up, but yeah, it takes us into the next halving, which is July 9th, 2016. So we hit next halving. All right, and what happens next after we hit halving? We get some chop. All right, so halving happens, right? Again, if people had been studying the last halving, they might say, oh, well, we got this 8,800% move up last time. I'm going to long this Bitcoin halving, right? So you get some chop, some longs, and then you get a massive crash. You get a stop out, right, of all the early speculations of the Bitcoin halving, and then price continues to range, right? So price ranges. This marking, right, this little first push marking the top of this channel, and it doesn't break out until about 108 days later, right? So it chops for about 100 days, finally breaks out of the channel, okay, and you see even a nice little back test of this channel, right? And then what happens? Exponential move up, right? So zoom out a little bit, right? Let's put that in green. There we go, okay. Chop, breakout, massive move up. Let's look at the metrics. 2,800% over the course of 420 days, right? So another just massive volatile move in a short period of time. That would be the end of the bull market, right? At the end of this green box. So hit the end of the bull market. Obviously, everyone knows we're going to hit a bear market, right? So this is that like 2018-ish bull market. Once we put in the high, we break down 85%, right? Looks pretty similar to 86%. Kind of crazy over the course of exactly a year, right? So after a year, we put in that low. Again, at this point, we don't know this is the low, right? And we start to enter price discovery mode where we're starting to make, a lot of bullish movement. This is a really big bullish push. Get a big retracement down. I'm sure a lot of people, in this area are saying, oh, this is just continuation of the downside. Bitcoin's going to zero, right? The all-time high breakout hasn't happened yet. There's no confirmation. So this is price discovery mode, right? Once we hit price discovery mode up to the halving, right? Very similar as last time. Halving happens, the third halving, which was May 11th of 2020. Okay, this is during COVID, a little bit of a black swan event. But we still see the same pattern, right? We see chop, right? You can even see almost a little stop out of people probably long, coming up into the halving right around here. You see this like nice little wick out, stop out right on the day of the halving, and then we range, right? Nothing volatile. By this point, I'm sure a lot of people have noticed the correlation of the halvings and we're expecting the breakout. But again, it's not trading isn't something where you enter along, a big news event's coming that everybody knows about and you follow the sentiment and you make a bunch of money, right? It's not how it works. Early, dumb money gets stopped out before big moves up. So even if the news event was right, like even on the last two, if you'd entered along early with a small invalidation, you got stopped out and you missed that big move, right? So similarly, we see like a little liquidation to start and then we range, okay? And then what happens? We break out of the range 75 days later. We back test the range just like we've done on the previous two. And then what happens? Insane volatile move up, right? And let's zoom out again. Okay. Here we go. Last bull market, right? So this was the previous bull cycle that a lot of people know and love. Okay. This is actually around the time where I got in. It was like probably right here is when I got into like the meme coin stuff and whatnot. So kind of towards the tail end of last bull cycle, I got into some meme coin stuff. So 560% increase over 470 days. Again, we're going to see a bear market, right? 78% decrease over 380 days. Again, scary, familiar compared to the last bear markets. right, in terms of length and percent decrease. So boom, you get that 78% decrease. You mark the bottom, right, November of 2022. Again, people don't know this, right? You enter, price discovery, right, where everyone's kind of like, oh, is this the bull market? Is it the bear market? Which we've been in pretty much the last year, right? At this point, I think, pretty much everybody who knows has accepted this as a bull market. But now, at this point in time, because we swing failure pattern the high, right, we got a breach but not a breakout. A lot of people think this is the end of the bull run, right? So we're still in price speculation mode. We have not broke out of the all-time high, right? We have not gotten acceptance up here. We haven't made that bull run breakout move to the upside yet. So we're still in the heat of the bull run. We're actually still in price discovery mode. We're not even in like the green areas of the chart, right? So, we're in price discovery mode. I want to zoom out too, so you guys can look at this. It's kind of crazy. Look at how pretty this looks when you break everything up, right? Look how eerily similar the mechanics are from each halving, right? You get like that little tiny chop, you get that big move up, you get the red, you get the price discovery, you get the halving, right? Price discovery up to the halving, chop, up, down, price discovery, chop, up, down. And the boxes are like very similar sizes, right? Which means like price movement is very similar. And you can even compare the numbers, right? Very similar. The one number that, I want to note that is different, right, is the bull run percent increases, right? So very clearly like 8,800% to 2,800% to 560. Clearly this is weakening, right? The number is decreasing. And, I'm a numbers guy, I'm a statistics guy, I'm a math guy. What this is doing is it's a law of diminishing returns. It's still, we're still going up quite a bit, but not to the same scale. And that's extremely normal, right? So if you're a Bitcoin maxi, we want wide scale adoption of Bitcoin. Bitcoin and crypto is the future of finance. If you compare it to something like the stock market that's been, around for a lot longer, has a lot more volume and whatnot, a stock market bull run, goes up 20% over the course of like almost 4 years on average, right? So way less percentage over a longer period of time, right? And what are we seeing here from each bull market cycle? We're seeing a decrease in percentage, right? Like getting closer to the stock market over a increased period of time. So I think that's going to continue to happen each cycle, right? We'll see smaller and smaller. Really what it is it's less volatility, right? Less volatility is what we're seeing, which is totally normal. When an asset has more volume, and becomes more regulated and more, you're going to see less volatility, right? And even though a lot of people have been in the space for a while, Bitcoin's still a very early asset. It's still considered to traditional finance to be extremely volatile, right? Some of you guys in the meme coin space who trade like, 50K, 100K meme coins, this Bitcoin seems like, the gold standard, the super traditional non-volatile asset in crypto. But at the same time, in comparison to traditional assets like gold and stock market, it's extremely volatile, right? Like a 86%, 85, 78% decrease in a bear market is unheard of in traditional finance, right? Just as an 8,800%, 2,800%, 560% increase is unheard of, right? So that leads me to my future predictions, which I'm really excited to get into. And again, this is very speculative, but with the correlation in the chart over the last 3 halvings, right, or 4 halvings, or 3 halvings, I guess, in the past, we can make a pretty accurate guess based on where price is going to get, right? And so this is just my analysis. I'm also going to include in future videos my Elliott wave count, my fibs, like I'll just give you a little preview, fib targets, right? Other tools that will give us some confluence. But just based on the halving mechanics, what do we see? So where are we right now? Let's go to the day chart. All right, let's zoom in. Okay, so halving just occurred. Where are we at? Okay, so halving just occurred. Again, we see a lot of bullishness leading up to the halving. And guess what? A lot of people get disappointed. You get stopped out, right? I know a lot of people who are new to their space just assumed like, oh, halving happening, meme coin season, it's the summer, we're just going to go through the roof. I'm going to put $1,000 into Pepe and become a millionaire, right? It doesn't happen like that. You get some early longs, you get a massive stop out, and all of a sudden, FUD, right? Which is kind of where we're at right now. I think not everyone's FUDding the market, but a lot of people are like genuinely scared that we're going to enter the bull market right now, which I think is insane, right? We haven't even gotten acceptance above the previous all-time high. So we're in this chop. We had the stop out. I believe we're going to range between the all-time high and where we're at now. Again, one of the different mechanics to this halving is that we took out the last all-time high before we hit the halving. But I want to make something very clear that's very important. Even though we deviated above it, we breached above it, right? There was no acceptance. There was no actual breakout and backtest continuation to the upside. It was like a swing failure pattern, right? A breach, not a breakout. So we still have not broke the all-time high, right? We breached it, but not broke it. So I'm predicting that Bitcoin ranges here. I did a very speculative time frame to about 45 to 100 days, just based on previous cycles, right? I actually put specifically for July 4th just because I love America, right? Had to throw that in there just because that seemed to be right about 75 days, between 45 to 100 days. It's July 4th, right, from the halving. So yeah, that would be cool, by the way, if we got a July 4th breakout. It'd be sick. But anyways, I'm expecting, Bitcoin to range anywhere from like 45 to 100 days, like somewhere in this area we're going to range, right? I bet we test all-time high again. We probably get a little rejection, and then, ton of shorts happen when we reject the high again, and then we get the short squeeze up, right? And as anyone knows, fundamentally, we've had tons of massive shorts that still have not been liquidated with stop losses right here. So we'll see a massive short squeeze to the upside once we test the highs again. So, okay, we have the chop. That's currently where we're at. We're chopping, right? Indecisiveness. There's FUD. Like, still people thinking that this is like the start of the bear market, or, et cetera, which to me is crazy. But that leads us to the next phase, okay, which is what everyone's anticipating and excited for. And that is the next bull run breakout phase, okay? So, again, according to past data, we're in the heat of the bull run, but it's not complete yet, okay? This is my price target. So my price target is, around 128, 130K, 125 to 130K, I would say. Okay. I put to 150K on this metric because, that's more related to my fibs and Elliott wave count stuff, which I'll do in a previous video. And again, you want to look at this as like a very wide range. I would say at 120K, that's when I'll start scaling out. That's when I'll start really thinking, hey, is the bear market here? Like, is it swing failure patterning, levels of confluence? Are we seeing high term time frame breakdowns of market structure, right? At 120K is when I'm really going to be looking for confluence for a reversal in the market, okay? But if it goes through it, I would not be surprised to see 130, 140, right? My exact market based on the data, which is actually pretty interesting how I got it. Okay, I will put this up here, okay? I'm a math guy, I'm a numbers guy, I'm a statistics guy, right? It's something I found that was pretty interesting. If you look at each previous cycle, right, like I mentioned earlier, we're seeing an exponential diminishing value relation going on here, right? So like 8,800 to 2,800 to 560, you can express that relationship in math, right? And the equation that I came up for, right, is you'll basically, to define the relationship between the first two bull cycles after the breakout of the halving, right? You divide 2,800 divided by 8,800, right? And so the relationship is that the second increase was 32% of the first, right? And so you go down to the next one and you compare the second breakout to the third after the third Bitcoin halving. You do 560 divided by 280, you get 20%, okay? And now this is where a little bit of algebra comes into stance, right? We don't know this number. This is what we're trying to figure out, right? We're trying to figure out where the price target is. How much percent increase do we get after the breakout? So this is represented by X. Divided by, we have this metric, 560%. And we also don't know this number. So this is a little bit more speculative, okay? I came up with 13% because I did the same diminishing value equation of 32 to 20% and then 20 to X, right? Obviously, there's two ways you can look at this relationship. Mainly, you can do like, 32 to 20 is minus 12, or you can look at the exponential diminishing value equation from 32 to 20, right? To me, 12 doesn't make sense, right? Because if you do minus 12 each cycle, this cycle would be 8%, and the next cycle would be in the negatives, right? So it doesn't really make sense. It's exponentially decreasing, like diminishing value, right? Negative exponentially, I should say. So, if you do that same equation, you get to 13%. So I speculatively put in 13%. With basic algebra, to get X by itself, you multiply 560 both sides. 560 times 13% or 0.13 is 73%. Okay, so I think based on previous metrics, When we break out of this all-time high, we'll get a 73% increase, right, to the upside here. Oh, let me restart that. This. Okay? So around here, around this area. Again, not an exact number, okay? There's a other wide range of things that could affect this, like, again, Elliott wave counts, fib extensions, negative fibs, like a lot of stuff you'll be looking for at all-time highs, general market sentiment, fundamentals, all that sort of stuff. But speculatively, 128,000 seems like a very good target. And there actually is a lot of confluence around this area, like the 1618, stuff like that, which again, I'll talk about in a future video. But yeah, that's where I get my price target of about 128,000. I think it's a range. I'm going to be looking between 120 to 150K. There's a lot of, perma bears in the market that are throwing numbers out like, 250K Bitcoin, 500K Bitcoin, whatever. I think that's extremely unlikely, especially if you study the previous patterns of the chart. That is, would be insane. I really highly doubt we get that big of an increase. You never know though, okay? And I wanna make that clear. No one really knows for certain, right? People make guesstimations based on previous patterns, previous numbers, statistics, right? In my opinion, this is the best analysis I've seen as to the price target of Bitcoin. I think if Bitcoin gets to 125 to 130K, I think we see, a crazy altcoin season. I think we still see that, 30 to 60 billion, 30 to 50 billion dollar Pepe, right? We see the 100x on Dodo and some of these altcoins. We still see that in a 75% increase to the upside. But right, a lot still has to happen. So that's my guess. I also want to throw in a little bonus note here. Okay. One other thing that's pretty interesting. Okay. Even before the halving, right? If we go back here, so this is the first halving. What do we see before the first halving, right? The exact same pattern play out, right? That no one's really talked about. Yes, we don't have like a, this data gets pretty muddy, obviously, on the creation of Bitcoin around here, right? This is like impossible to read. But what we see is the same thing. We see a massive high percentage, like a, 27,000% increase, right? Then we see a bear market, which this is like I think it was about a 90% decrease, bear market. We see price discovery leading up to the first halving, and we see the same cycle repeat. So even before the halving started, we get this same pattern playing out, right? So it's pretty crazy the way the Bitcoin market's been correlated to the halvings. And again, shout out to Max for he's the first one, at least that I've seen, that's talked about halving mechanics and how the market moves. Our analysis is a little different. Obviously, our price targets I think are way different. But I think this is a great metric to follow, not just for this bull run, but for future bull runs too. So yeah, super interesting. Again, I appreciate you guys, tuning in, listening to my analysis in my video. This is something where I want to produce 1 to 2 videos a week. I would love if you guys liked and subscribed. It would help my channel out a lot. Obviously, this is like the first video. I'm a brand new channel, but I will be posting updates through the bull cycle and through the bear cycle. So yeah, thank you guys. Please like and subscribe. Follow my Twitter as well, at Blicky Trades. Post a lot of updates and meme coin shilling and whatnot on my Twitter as well. So thank you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.